Okay, now I have to share the link. How do I share links? Copy this. Live video discussion with mentees. Coming? Couple of riddles, telling them they'll work with groups, and I'll introduce how to look at find problems.
Also, avoid doing live sessions here. The light comes in. You have never seen YouTube videos.
I have. I see myself when I am there.
Hello.
Okay, so here's the link. Let me put it in this group. We need to get a better frame for all our live sessions as well. The switchboard isn't the nicest thing for people to see.
Well, actually,
You can maybe try it there, but that's a bit too dark.
it's a no.
Opposite, the frame. It's okay. Let's see if anybody has joined. 0 views. Okay, we're still broadcasting and we have 0 viewers.
Zero viewers.
It's only the two of us. It's only the two of us. And all this is going to be on the video the whole time. You have anybody? Anybody?
Fast. Why did you do it at 8:30?
8:30 is a good time. Come on, let's see how many people have read the message. Okay, a lot of people have read it. I think they're having trouble clicking the link. Let's see. We have any views? We have 3 viewers. Hello. Hi guys. Who's viewing? Okay, that reminds me. I should also paste the link. Do you want to check through comments and stuff, or we do it half screen? I can set up an incognito window and we shall commence. Hold on, guys. I'm just trying to open up the chat so that I can read your comments as you post it. Set up an incognito window and we shall commence. Hold on, guys. I'm just trying to open up the chat so that I can read your comments as you post it. All right. Mhm. Hey Utsav, hey Tanvi, hello guys. Comments, good on. There. So that's there in one place. I'm here. I can read through it. Hey Zishan, hello.
Hello.
5 viewers. Utsav and Tanvi. Aishwarya is also here. Oof. Nice. 3 people. 6 people actually. I have 6 viewers. I have 6 viewers. Best YouTuber ever. Nice. 2 people. 6 people actually. I don't think I sound that funny on camera. Anyway, if you don't try, you don't succeed.
There's too much of noise of.
Can you close the window? 7 people. Okay, guys, can you just drop a message over here on the chat if you're having a lot of issues with the background noise? Because I'm next to a main road in Bangalore, so it's going to be pretty tough. Just tell me if there are any issues with the audio, if you can hear me clearly or not. Okay, so there is a lot of traffic noise. Hmm. Okay, let me see if I can switch location. Okay, you guys are getting a semi tour of the office as well. Yeah, so whoever is here, here's our office. It starts with, let's see, the climber. And this is the first poster that we have, top 50. And yeah, so this is the office, whatever you see of it. Let's see. So you've got our 3 main values: curiosity, creativity, and inspiration. So that pretty much reflects what we believe in and, you know, what we built the company on. And there are a lot of people in there, so let's not disturb them. I'll close the door. Okay. Did you guys like the office? Yes. Ah, oh, okay. Also, am I audible now? Yes, I am audible. Amazing. Thank you, Tanvi. It is a really nice office, if I say so myself. Okay. All right, we're back down to 5 people. Hmm. Well, let's just give it another 1 minute. So whoever can will join us, and we'll continue. Hmm. Okay. 6. Hmm. All right, then cool. Let's begin. So, welcome to the first video discussion of your My Captain Entrepreneurship workshop. Uh, this is going to be, we'll be having a live video chat about once a week, where either I'll be introducing a topic to you, or I'll be asking you about progress and updates about what you've done with your own startups. So let's begin. All right. So what's the first thing? So this 1 hour discussion or so will be about 45 minutes to 1 hour. We'll try to wind up around 9:30. It's going to be first about how the workshop is going to function. You guys might have a small idea already. I'll just elaborate on it. Post which we'll be looking at groups, and I'll tell you how a little bit about why groups and how it's important. And lastly, we'll jump straight into the topic at hand, which is finding problems to solve. And that is one of the most important parts of running a startup or even founding a startup. So, beginning with, all right, first let me just, test you guys if your minds and brains are working or not. I have a riddle. Just you can answer the riddle by posting a comment over there. Okay, so here's the riddle. A bat and a ball together cost $1.50. All right, cost together a $5.50. Now the bat costs. Wait. No, I got that wrong. So a bat and a ball cost $1.10. Let me just okay, can't type. So a bat and a ball together cost $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. What's the cost of the bat and the ball separately? It's a quick riddle. See if you guys can get your brain juices flowing. I'll repeat it. A bat and a ball together cost $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. What's the cost of the bat separately and the ball separately? Let's see. You guys know the answers. Okay, it's the page is reloading for me. Okay, no replies. 10 cents for the ball. Okay. Uh, are you sure, Prathamesh? Because I don't think that's the right answer. Think again. Hmm. Hey, Zishan answered. He's not the best at maths, but I think he ruined the riddle for all of us by giving the right answer immediately. So yeah, so this is just a quick thing to make sure that your brains are working, and it's also a small lesson that things aren't exactly the way they seem. Because your first guess is it's going to be 10 cents and $1, but if you just dig a little deeper into it, you'll realize that that's the most obvious answer is sometimes wrong. So you have to think a little bit more before you give the answer. Okay, so now that all of your brain juices are flowing, let's begin. So firstly, I'll just tell you how the workshop is going to proceed over this 1 month's time. So there'll be 6, 7 tasks that all of you will have to do together as groups. And it's going to be a structured format so that even all of you working together will be having a startup by the end of the 30 days. And that means I'll require you guys to be active, not just with me, talking to me, but also within your groups and interacting with one another over there. So, how is it going to work? Well, the first week or so will be mostly about finding a problem to solve. I'll be discussing more in this session about how to find a problem, what exactly is a problem, and how we can go about solving it. Will be done later. So that's the first step. After which we'll look at solutions, and once you have solutions, we'll talk about business models. Now, a business model is something that's going to be pretty important because that tells how you're going to make money, how your revenues are going to go. And post which you'll be looking at MVPs or a basic version of your product and seeing how you can build something really fast that can make sure you validate whether or not the problem you're solving is real. Post which we'll be looking into getting your first marketing web page up, or we're getting a web page up and doing your first set of sales. That's going to be pretty interesting. And if there is time beyond that, we'll be looking at how to deal with investors, pitch decks, how to raise funding, how to take part in B plan competitions. And yeah, so by the end of the workshop, you're not just going to have a startup, you're going to be even prepared how to deal with investors. So if you like the sound of that, just give me a thumbs up in the comments. Okay. Okay. So, all right. And in this workshop, Zishan and I will, in the beginning, act as mentors. So we'll be guiding you and helping you out on in finding problems to solve, as well as helping you come up with solutions and helping you avoid common mistakes that first time entrepreneurs like we made. And we're going to help make sure that you don't do silly mistakes here and there that can slow down progress or worse. So this means that you're going to have to be open to us about a lot of things, and you have to be very forthcoming in your interactions. And we're going to be quite you know I wouldn't say strict, but we're not going to be light on you guys. If we think that a problem that you're solving isn't very viable or isn't very feasible, we'll put forth our opinion on that. And we want, and we're not going to sugarcoat things. We're not going to try to make it very nice. That's not why we're here. We're going to tell you the truth as it is. We're going to ask you tough questions that you'll need to come up with answers for, and that's going to be the way in which you really make good progress in this month. And towards the end of the month, we'll also be acting as mock investors, where we'll be looking at you pitching your startup to us, and we'll take a decision on whether or not someone would invest in it. And of course, we will be having a reward at the end of it for the best one entrepreneur slash mentee in this month. So again, remember, the most active person is going to get a lot of attention from us, and it depends on you guys for how well you can make use of it and how well you build your startup. So definitely be an interesting part of this workshop. And yes, so then let's, if you've understood so much, we'll drop a message. Zia says your team will be better than my team. All right, we'll see, we'll see. So yeah, if you've understood, if you're caught up till here, just give me a thumbs up so I know I can proceed. Okay, Tanvi got it. Okay, Utsav's also on board. Hmm. Okay, Shuri is also here. And all right, cool. So let's proceed. Okay, so this lesson, this live discussion, is going to be all about finding problems to solve. All right, and that is actually the key of all startups that are there. That's finding a problem that's out there in the world that people are trying to solve. And so, like we discussed in the first lesson, there's going to be a lot about problem solving. And if you remember the game, as entrepreneurs, your main aim is to find out what challenge or difficulty a consumer faces and come up with the right solution for them in the form of a startup. So, we're going to be learning how to first of all find out what problems people face. So, well, how do we begin? Well, let's start by one looking into narrowing it down. Now, there are so many different problems a person faces in a day-to-day life, which can be something from uncomfortable chairs to not having a guitar when you want it, to not being able to move from place to place very easily. But let's narrow it down to the spectrum of problems we look at to things that remain in one of five different major sectors or five major different industries, so to say. The five of them are: first is education. So problems related to education are not just in terms of schools and college systems, but education of, let's say, workers in, let's say, industries. Laborers maybe also would need to get proper education about safety and otherwise. So things like that, education as a whole for everybody. The next industry or sector we look at is health. Now, health sector or medical sector does not specifically require you to be a doctor, but it's more about understanding how to make sure. It can be about connecting people who have medical knowledge and experience, like doctors, like nurses, with people who are in need of it, or connecting pharmaceuticals or medicine shops, to people who require it at a specific time, or providing people who with care. So med tech as a sector is all about how we can connect that. The next is food. Uh, you must have seen a lot of food startups these days, like Zomato, Swiggy. And if you're in Bangalore, you must have heard of a lot more like Fresh Menu, Box 8. All these are again startups who have apps. And what they do is they get food, like prepared food, to people's houses, deliver food to them. That's an example of food sector, and everybody requires a lot of food, and definitely it's a very important part of everyone's life to have good, healthy, nutritious food, and 3 meals a day. So again, food sector is another area where a lot of startups are coming up. The other fourth sector is finance. Now, this is a bit tricky because finance is a very touchy sector, because you'll have big players like Paytm and other big banks out there which sort of control the industry. But a lot of startups come up that help people manage their own personal finances, help them keep track of the money and so on. So finance startups can be even about managing personal money to anywhere to having a new e-wallet system or having something even in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And the last is travel. Now, travel sector startups are all about making sure that people go on to trips, people go on to vacations, either by providing the right transport to them or providing a final holiday package to them, or doing something more crazy like a digital detox, which, where you don't have technology or not connected to the internet for 3 4 days and then you get back. So these are five different major sectors that are there. I'll just type them down into the comments. Education, health, food, travel, and finance. Now, over this 1 month, each group that will be over here will be picking up one of these five sectors so that it's narrowed down. And you'll be working on finding a problem in one of the five. And based on that problem, we'll be going ahead with your startup. All right. So once the groups are formed, you will first have to have a discussion about which sector you want it and why you want to solve a problem in that sector, because all of these have great repercussions, can impact people's lives in many ways, make it better. And there are very big problems in all of these sectors that require to be solved. So it's up to you guys to figure out as a group together which one sector you want to work on, and then you'll have to find out about a problem that you'll want to solve. So if you've understood so far, give me a thumbs up so that I can go ahead with it. And if you've got questions about any one of the sectors or anything I've said so far, please do drop it off, right? Drop a comment over there so that I can answer it immediately. So Tanvi, yes, we'll work with one of these five sectors because that's where most of the startups coming out these days are venturing into. And it means that there are a lot of problems to solve as well as a lot of potential for startups in these sectors to definitely grow very large. So that's why we'll be working with these five. And also, these are the five sectors that all of you would have experienced at one point or another. And hence, you'll be better connected to what problems are there in it that you can solve. Okay, so it seems like everybody's definitely caught up so far. So let's one jump into a few examples of the different startups that you might have heard of in each of the sectors. So if you've got, do you know any startup in the education sector? Any startup in the education sector, just drop a message. Byju's topper, yes, Prathamesh. So Byju's is a pretty huge education startup that's out there. Most of you would have heard of it for sure. Uh, Definitely one of the best startups. Lots of funding, lots of employees, lots of a very big team. Quora, interesting answer, Tanvi. I personally wouldn't call it education. I'd call it more of a social media, but definitely it has an educational angle to it. So yeah, Quora would count in a way. So Tanvi, are you a very big Quora user? Prathamesh, you won my heart. Definitely, Climber is also an education technology startup. So yeah, so you guys understand. Prathamesh, can you also drop a message about what Topper and Byju's does so that you get an idea of what edtech startups do? Khan Academy is definitely a very big international startup that's there in education. They've done some tremendous work. So yeah, that's also another very brilliant answer. So do you guys know what Khan Academy does? Utsav, can you tell them? All right, while they're typing something, let's move on ahead as well. So, in health, do you know any startups that are there in health tech, med tech? Do you know any startups that are there? Mhm, mhm. Right. Okay, so Practo and Click to Clinic, yes, are health tech startups. So, Utsav, can you tell what Click to Clinic does for us? Uh, I have not heard of that, Tanvi. Are you talking about Fortis, the hospital chain? Mm-hmm. Plexus. Uh-huh. Right. So okay, so you guys know your startups. That's brilliant. Uh, the next question I have is, let's move on to the next one, which is, do you know any startups in food tech, apps, or otherwise that give food or provide cooked or raw material for cooking? Any startups? Yep. Again, so it connects people with doctors. Yes, that's very similar to what Practo does in a way. So all of them are focused about bringing customers and patients and doctors together. Swiggy, yes. Food Panda, of course. Right. So again, even Swiggy and Food Panda are all aggregators where there are a lot of restaurants on the app, and you can select the ones that you like, and you can go ahead, picking the menu from there, picking items, and get it delivered. Interesting. So, do you guys know any travel startups? Anything related to travel? This is interesting. Make my trip, yes. Uh, Uber is definitely a startup that's ventured into food now, called and it's Uber Eats thing, Sweta. Go Ibibo Airbnb, yes, Tanvi, that's the one I was looking for. Uh, so Airbnb is also a startup in the travel sector. That's also a very, very, very interesting startup that's out there in terms of what they've done and how they've done it. So the more you read about Airbnb, the more you're going to, excuse me, the more you're going to really learn the nitty gritties of startups because they're one of the best examples that you can follow. Fast Track, uh, I'm not sure about Fast Track, and I think I'm getting it confused with the watch brand that's out there. Alpfly, yes. Oyo Trivago, yes. Oyo Rooms, true. So all these are travel startups too. Now, do you know any finance startups, fintech, finance and technology working together? Finmasa, uh-huh. Share Khan, yes, definitely. Bank Bazaar, yes, it definitely counts too. Phenomena is a startup as well in tech. PayPal, yes. You guys are missing one of the biggest giants in the fintech space in India. Paytm, that's the one I was looking for, right? So in finance, you've noticed that there are a lot of different variety, a lot more variety in the kind of startups that are there. So Bank Bazaar is aggregate of bank information and like helping you select the right option for you in terms of accounts or credit card options or otherwise. Phenomena is, if I'm not mistaken, it's a payment system where you can EMI based payment system if I'm not getting confused. PayPal and Paytm are wallets or e-payment systems. So yeah, a lot of variety over here. ShareCon is a startup that helps you invest in stocks. It's quite old actually. It's not something that's come out very recent, but yeah, it definitely is a very, very big player in the space. All right, so all of you in all these examples, you must have noticed something. All these startups are working in a different sector like finance, education, food, health, travel, etc. But they have a strong technology component to them. For example, let's take the example of Byju's. All right, so it's all about making learning easier by providing better quality videos, and they use technology to deliver that. So they are a technology enabled startup. The same with something like Food Panda or Swiggy. They get a lot of food prepared and generated through in restaurants, and they use the app, the piece of technology, as a means of connecting them. The same with Airbnb. It has travelers as well. It has homeowners, and they just connects them through the app. So what you're noticing is the startups work primarily on the sector and use technology to connect them. So the startup is not about building the app. The startup is less about the technology that is there, but instead it's about what it can do using it. For example, if you take the case of something like uh, again Swiggy, Swiggy can be operated without the app as well. You can just call up the restaurant, but they've used technology to connect you to restaurants, to connect you to all the options available, and that's why they're a food tech startup. They aren't just a food startup, or they aren't a restaurant. So that's how startups are evolving today. They're going more and more into using technology to enable and simplify the lives of customers in different ways in different places. So, when you are thinking about building your startup as well in one of these five sectors, your aim one shouldn't be to build an application. It should be about finding a problem that you can solve and using technology, either an app, either just a phone number or a website or anything to simplify that thing for the end user, for the customer. And that is very important. You must get out of the conception that an app is a startup. An app is a part of a startup. It's a piece of it that enables the startup to run the rest of its business. So that's also very important for you guys to understand over here. And with that, you've hopefully got an idea about the different sectors that are there, the different options. And now let's look quickly into what is problem solving and how we can go about solving problems. And again, I leave another minute or two over here so that you guys can post any questions that you have. If not, just give me a thumbs up so that I can know I can proceed into finding problems to solve. Urban ladder. That's an interesting question. Let's see if there are any more before I answer that. Urban ladder is okay, fine. I don't think there are any more questions. Okay, so Urban Ladder 2, so the website that they have, that where they is essentially e-commerce, similar to Flipkart, similar to Pepperfry. It's an e-commerce startup, which unfortunately those kind of startups aren't doing too well right now. We'll get into a longer conversation about why and all of that towards a bit later into the workshop. But it counts as an e-commerce startup, and what they do is they sell furniture, and they use a website to give you a whole range of options so that you can select one without looking at going to a store and having to like list all of it over there. So over here I'll tell you how technology is helping them as a startup, and it's helping customers. For us, we can stay at our home and have a huge selection. For Urban Ladder, they need not have a giant shop anywhere where they have to host put up specific pieces. They don't need to have a warehouse for that specific place, and this helps them save a lot of costs while enabling them to provide more options for the users. So that's how Urban Ladder is making use of technology to improve their commerce, to improve their business. Okay, so no more questions. If you guys can drop thumbs ups, we can move on to the last section of this discussion. right? How much cost is required to make an app or a website for a startup? It depends entirely upon the app, and usually startups don't pay. You usually have a founder or a team member who can build the app. But as you'll see over the course of the workshop, an app is not where you start your focus for your startup. That's actually one of the later things that you will put your energy into. So that's where we look at, a lean startup methodology. If you're curious, Prathamesh, you can go through the lesson about, I'm not very sure about the number, let me check. But you can go through the lesson on lean startup and ready. So you can go through lesson 8 and lesson 9 to understand about why you don't need to really focus on building an app at the start, and instead you can focus on the other parts. Now, I'll give you a quick example about My Captain over here. So when we started My Captain, we didn't really start with the entire platform or with having everything in mind about what to build and all that. We instead focused on connecting the users, the mentees who would have wanted to follow something in the passion, with captains who already knew and had experience in the passion. So we initially started using external platforms like Google Drive. We started using VisIQ, and then we even used WhatsApp groups for a very long time. And for about just the past 1.5 years or so of My Captain, we've been having our own web platform. So it's very much a sensible idea to not start with uh, app building an app right away. So I hope that question you'll get an answer to in more detail towards the end. But I think we can move on to the problem solving part about this. About Yes. Okay, great. So, problem solving. Now, this is a very important part. Now, when all the examples we looked at, when I asked what they did, what the startup does, you gave me an answer about, like, for example, let me just read one that Prathamesh said that Byju's simplifies lessons for students in a video format using animation. Yes, that's what they do, but that is not the problem they are solving, which is in fact very, very different from what they do. What problem they're trying to solve is make education easier, to make learning concepts fun and get people interested in study. That's the problem that they're trying to solve, and they're trying to do it by creating amazing videos, with a lot of animation and with a lot of fun. So that's the problem that they're trying to solve. Now, that's a very fundamental difference between what a startup does and when I ask what problem does it solve. We have to think in terms of the founder of the startup and be like, why did this person try to start this? What were they looking at when they started? Rather than what is there today and what they do today, we should go back to the point in time where they were thinking about when it began, and then understand what problem that they're trying to solve. So, for example, Uber. Let's take the example of that app that almost everybody has. What does Uber do? Well, you can say that they have an app, they build apps, they enable people to get cabs, but that's very different from the problem Uber was trying to solve, and that was again trying to get a cab, and making transportation easier and cheaper and more reliable. Now, if you've gone through lesson number 4, I think there's a small bit about why Ola was started. And if you again ask what does Ola do, you can say that they let users get cabs, but it's very different. So Bhavesh Agrawal, who is the founder of Ola, had a very bad experience when he was traveling, and he couldn't. He was left in the middle of the road during a cab ride. So he then understood that cabs are unreliable. There is no price that has been fixed beforehand, and it's very difficult to get one to agree to it. So he started Ola to one solve the problem of making cabs more reliable, more trustworthy, as well as cheaper for users. So that's the problem that they're trying to solve versus how they do it differently. So if you've understood this, you can just give me a thumbs up. And if you've got any questions, post it right away. We look into a couple more examples and a quick section on how we can proceed. Okay, cool. So you guys have understood so far. Now, when we're talking about when you guys will be working in your groups, you'll have to find a problem that you want to solve. So, how do you arrive at that problem is a very important question. Well, first of all, you have to first agree upon which sector you want to work in. After you agree upon that, you have to really step into the shoes of the customer, of the end user, and think what happens in their day-to-day lives and what problems would they encounter. And if you're not very sure, let's say that you want to do a health tech startup, you're not very sure about what problems a doctor faces in a day-to-day life, or what a customer faces in a patient would face in a day-to-day life, or a nurse, or let's say a hospital owner. All these are people in the health field, and they all are your potential customers as a startup. So you will have to really step into their shoes. And if you're not really able to imagine that, it's very important that you go out there, talk to one of them, talk to a doctor, talk to a nurse, talk to somebody who a patient, and ask them questions about what problems they face, uh, how regularly, challenges that they've come up, how are they dealing with it. And that's how you find out what problems are there. Now once you find that out, you have to first understand, like, look at all the different people in the ecosystem, all the way, like for example, if you look at education, look all the way from teachers to principals to school administrators to students to tuition teachers to parents. All these are people involved in the education field, and all of them are potential customers for the startup depending on what they do. So you first have to identify who you're solving a problem for, understand who they are, and understand a problem that they would face. Talk to these people who are, you know, facing these problems on a day-to-day basis, or put yourself, go through a day in the life of a teacher, go through the day in the life of a student. Most of you already do that. But yeah, go through the lives of these people and really understand where the big problems lie. And the problem should not be what you face or you alone face, but it should be something that applies to a large set of people, because only then you can make a startup that will be financially sustainable and can, address a large enough problem. So if you look at the lesson over there, it's mentioned quite clearly that the first part is about first identifying a problem that you want to solve, and then really understanding who you're solving it for. Because it's easy to say that the problem that you solve will be a solution for everyone, but in fact, in reality, it's going to be very different. For example, if you take the case of medicine or medical aid, it's going to be very different what you do to provide medical aid to a person in a city like Bangalore versus providing medical aid to a person in a rural area somewhere on the outskirts of Bangalore. And as a startup, you'll have to focus only on one thing. You'll have to really understand who you are solving a problem for and focus only on them. And the last part is you have to understand why you want to solve this problem. And that is very important. Has it affected you in any way? Has it, affected somebody you know in any way? And these are important reasons as to why you will be solving this problem. Have you noticed something that, really moves your heart and makes you decide that, yes, that is a problem I want to solve? Again, you can look at the example of Goonj and listen to his TED talk, where the founder of Goonj talks about why he founded that amazing NGO out there. And speaking about personal experience and my captain, why we are solving the problem is also very important, because we are students, we face the problem ourselves, and we wanted to go out there to solve it. The problem of not being able to do what you're passionate about, not being able to do what you really love. So, understanding what problem you're solving and really narrowing it down to who you are solving that problem for. Again, the problem of, let's say, water conservation will be very different, like the problem that a person in Rajasthan villages face versus somebody who's in Bangalore faces will be very different problems as such. So you'll have to really dig down and understand what problem you're solving and who you're solving it for, and understand your motivation behind solving it for those people. So that's the essence about so finding problems to solve and understanding how to break down into understanding who the different users are, the entire set of stakeholders for a particular sector, and then putting yourselves in the lives, in the shoes of those people, imagining a day in their lives, and really understanding how they're going about with it. Post which, you have to really find out why you want to solve the problem, why you, and what's your motivation for it. And with that, you'll be in a group, and you'll have to come upon an answer together. All right, to really find out a way to solve problems and go ahead with it. So with that, I'll just leave it open for questions. You can ask me anything that you want, any queries, any doubts, anything you're not sure of, and I'll be happy to answer them. After a quick round of questions, we'll wind up this discussion. All right? How will the groups be formed? All right. So all those who have submitted the test will be based on your personality types, based on your answers. You'll be segregated into groups, and I'll be posting the groups tonight just after this discussion is over, and tell you which group you're in. Post which you'll have to form your own individual WhatsApp groups to discuss with each other and to work with each other. Right. Any more questions, guys? Understood. Awesome. Great. Also, make it a point to go through the lessons that are scheduled, because what I'll be talking about will be related to those. So, before the discussion is scheduled for anything, just make sure that you quickly go through the lessons. They take about 15-20 minutes per lesson. Already going well. Thank you so much, Sweta. I hope that your mind gets blown by the end of the workshop. No, Tanvi, you have to submit it on the platform. and I will, based on that, I'll be making the group. So you can go onto the platform in the tasks section. You can just click on task number 0, which is a personality test, and you can click on the link that's over there and go ahead and submit it. Madhu's got it. All right. Uh, any more questions, guys? It's about 9:30, so we'll be winding up in the next 2-3 minutes, based on if you guys got questions or not. Mhm. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions then. So I guess we'll call it a night. And if you've got any more queries, want to talk to me, drop me or Zishan a message on WhatsApp, and we'll be happy to reply over there. Happy to answer to any of your queries, or give us a call. So I guess that's it for tonight then. So good night. Thank you so much for spending the hour with me. And I shall announce the groups on the WhatsApp. So prepare yourselves for a start of a fun month. All right. Good night. Z, say good night.
Good night. See you.
You have a Christmas tree in the office too. Okay. Bye bye. Good night, guys.